All right, I'm going to discuss some of my favorite things of 2023. Some of them are going to be actual things that I purchased, and I would dare to say about at least half of this short list is going to be about experiences or music. All right, so I think it's fitting to start with music. And I discovered two fantastic bits of music here. The first one is by this artist called Iniko. I think I'm saying that right. And there are two versions of this that I like. One is with music, one is a cappella. The a cappella is incredible. Her voice is fantastic. Look her up. It's just one of the songs that I played over and over. And the way how I judge a good song is if you still want to hear it or you hear it say a year or 2 years from now and you still enjoy it. There are a lot of songs now that are popular, but after a few weeks you're kind of sick of hearing it. But this,
Hi, I'm from outer space. I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gone, I've been far away. I'm a liberty now, make a move, start a waves. I've been dreaming about flying for a long time.
it's just incredible when you can listen to it and hear her sing a cappella. It's beautiful. Let me see if I can skip to where she harmonizes.
I had a vision from the grace they wanna go sign. Yeah, artificially intelligent AI. I'm your future, past and present. I'm a fine line. Yeah, I'm the missing link of this illusion. I am not really here.
The control that she has is incredible. Let me skip to where she
Don't
harmonizes.
need gravity, I just need growth. Oh, when I move, it's an earthquake rumble. I won't ever,
Let me see if I
and
can
I don't
find.
need to be. I can go higher. My blood, I don't ever get touched. Heavily protected, never alone. Tapped in, I'm connected to the unknown. Oh, 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 and I don't need to be humble. Break down walls like Jericho crumble. Ooh, yeah, when I move, it's an earthquake, and I will never ever fall. No.
Oh God, man.
Break down walls. Ah, Jericho, Jericho walls come down. Jericho, Jericho walls come.
All right. So she
Jericho,
didn't
I know
harmonize
those
in
walls
this song,
come down.
but on the musical version, the musical version, you can hear her harmonizing. Can I find it? Let me see if I could find Jericho, but not a cappella. Let's find her with the actual music. Here we go. Incredible song. The other one that I discovered is by this young kid. She's 15. Her name is Emma Koch, or Emma, I don't know how to say that her name, KOK. But she's 15 and she has an autoimmune disease. Not a, it was a part of her story because of how she was introduced, but that's not why it was special. What was special is her rendition of this song here.
Moi, à vos amours, à vos amis, parlez-leur de cette fille aux yeux noirs et de son rêve fou. Moi, ce que je veux, c'est écrire des histoires qui arrivent jusqu'à vous. C'est tout. Voilà, 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 voilà qui je suis. Mais voilà mes messieurs.
Check her out on your own. It's incredible. It was produced by Andre, I can't say his name, Ryu, I don't know how to say it. But her name is Emma Koch. All right. The other thing that has to do with experience and not think so much is, I don't know how to put this really on in picture, but I cut back on how much work I was doing for other people. This might sound a little strange. Cut back on my actual full-time job. What I found was basically I was devoting the best moments of my life to other people's endeavors, an actual career or job, which is okay for some people. But after some time of doing it, I wasn't really enjoying that, because the terrible thing about that is you're remembered for the last mistake that you make. So if you make a mistake, or if it's even deemed a mistake, even if it's not a mistake, then the sometimes employers don't miss the chance to put you down. And it's almost like you're always constantly jumping through hoops, um, with the promise of if you just stay for 5 more years, you get another day off. Or I'm not saying that's my particular situation, but it's always some carrot that's held in front of you, right? If you stay for 5 years, you get another week off, or you get a 2% raise next year, or some horseshit like that. And it's easy for 1 year to become 5 years, to become 10, to become 20, to become 30. And before you know it, you're old and you haven't found out what else you're good at, what else you can do. So what I did was, and I'm glad I did this, I cut back on all that. So I don't have a lot of money. Never had a lot of money to begin with, but I have less money now. But I've found a bunch of things that I enjoy doing. And a big part of that has to do with cameras, as is the nature of this channel. I take more pictures, I do more video. Sometimes it's for free, sometimes I get a little bit of money. But all the time, most of the time, I enjoy it, which is fantastic. All right, the other bit that has to do with experiences is I was fortunate to be able to travel a little bit. And this might sound a little strange, but I've found that the best way to travel to certain places is by yourself. Because when you're with someone, then you got to figure out what they want to do and are they happy? Are they going to enjoy what you want to do? When I'm by myself, instead of rushing from one destination to the next, if I want to sit by a stream for an hour, I can just do that. And it's fantastic. And it's also cheaper if you go by yourself sometimes. Because then, depending on who you go with, you got to go out for dinner or buy a certain meal. When I'm by myself, I don't mind eating the same thing for dinner 2 days in a row. So I'll buy one big meal and spread that out. Or I'll skip breakfast, that kind of stuff, right? Or I don't bother wasting money, in my view, on certain types of entertainment if I'm only going there to appease the person with whom I traveled. And even when you go with your family, it's nice, but your family don't always enjoy it. There's going to be some long face at some point. Or we got to do this again. We already been on a walk. I'm tired. I want to sit down. Something like that. Not that it's a nuisance, but sometimes it is. So I enjoyed traveling by myself to a bunch of places, and I just thought it was fantastic. I would sit for or travel for hours in one direction to a destination, and then just sit there and take it in. Sometimes with a camera, sometimes without the camera, or the camera sitting beside me, and it was beautiful. So aside from just traveling, I went on a bunch of hikes and so on by myself, and they were equally enjoyable. It doesn't have to be somewhere exotic, but if you can, travel a little bit, see different parts of the world, or different part of your community even. All right. The other thing I enjoyed from 2023 was I looked for more opportunities to do acts of kindness. Obviously, I'm not going to list them here, but they abound. It doesn't have to be anything grand, right? You just got to look for small chances to be kind to someone. It could be giving something away, or just be a kind word or something. And it does something for you. It gives you perspective, and at least it gave me perspective, and it just made me feel good. It really did. Most of the time, nobody knows, I mean, except the people who are on the receiving end. But otherwise, it's not advertised, but it's fantastic. I don't fault anybody who videotapes himself doing kindness on YouTube, but that was not really my style. I'm not trying to knock that, so let me just switch that topic right away. But if you can look for these opportunities to do acts of kindness, it's fantastic. The other thing was my cat. Got a cat, and this cat, even though I kind of lock her out of the room right now, was a big part of 2023. She just followed me around the room constantly, follows me around the house. Very pleasant, plays a whole heap, and I just enjoyed, and I still enjoy having her around. And before I started locking her out of the room, because she loved to come on the bed, and then her fur is everywhere, and she does this weird thing where she lays in her litter box and rolls around in it, but then wants to come on the bed. That can't happen. But she's a wonderful addition. Awesome, awesome addition. All right. The other thing that was fantastic, and these are going to be purchases, it has to be with what I think is a wonderful lens, the Sigma 18 to 50 DCDN contemporary for for Sony E mount, and it's frequently on sale. And with Adorama, sometimes they bundle it with all kinds of stuff. This is not Adorama, it's B&H, but it's a fantastic lens. The minimum focusing distance, you can almost use it as a macro lens, but it's not true macro lens. So it's let me see, 2.8, but you can use a very close focusing distance. I think the minimum focusing distance is 4.8 inches from the sensor of the camera, so which means you can be this close from the lens to your subject, and it's incredible. And talking about a sharp lens, it's incredibly sharp for video and for photography. So 2.8 is a constant aperture, so it lets in a whole heap of light, and it's a very versatile lens. I've used it on videos and with photography. If I'm just going out to take some pictures at a museum or something, either for a hobby or anything, I'm taking this lens because I can get really close to things and take some good shots. I can use the wider end of it and get a whole heap of stuff in the frame. Fantastic lens. Another purchase that I think was good, or two more, is this monitor. And this monitor is by Asus, or I don't know how you say it. Asus, I think that's how you say it. I didn't pay this for it. It's always on sale. I got it on sale for, I think I ended up paying $274 or something like that. But it works out fantastically as, it's a 13-inch model, fantastically as a second screen for my computer for when I'm editing and some things. Like right now OBS is on that monitor, and then my main monitor shows whatever I'm playing or editing with, and it's fantastic. I also use this as a kind of a tethered shooting experience. So I was doing a shoot for some people. It's like a step and shoot kind of thing, and because it has HDMI and USB and so on, you could plug in your camera directly into here and display the pictures for your guests to see, for the clients to see as you're taking them, which is fantastic. It's not stored on here. There's no memory card. There's no battery. So you got to power it. You can power it with a power bank through any one of the USB-C ports on either side. And it just works like a tethered shooting thing, not true tethered form, as in it doesn't show up automatically until you turn on the display on your camera, but it's still fantastic. The other thing, the last thing that I really enjoyed in 2023 is getting this old camera. It's a camera that's 19-year-old, and I got it from this guy for $400, overpriced, I think. So it came with two kit lenses. One is 18 to 50 or something like that, 18 to 55. No, 17 to 85. And there was a telephoto lens. The telephoto lens does not have image stabilization, but this one does. In any case, what I enjoyed most about this is the lack of features, or lack of modern features. So it's almost like I got to experience that step that long time photographers had. So there are photographers who used film, then they moved to DSLR, and then they moved to digital and to mirrorless and so on and so forth. And I missed out on that big chunk of experience. And so I get why, by using this old camera, I got why, all right, I value more the digital experience of mirrorless cameras. Because with this camera, you can't see how your image is going to change when you make certain adjustments, like to your aperture and so on. You just got to trust the exposure meter, which is the only indication you have, and trust your gut. So you get what you get, and forget the little tiny screen that's on the back. It doesn't help one bit. So when you go to review your images right now on your phone or on your modern cameras, you can get a good representation of what the image looks like. this screen is useless. So if you miss a shot, that's it. So I get it. Now I wouldn't use this for any high stakes photography, but it's a great learning tool. It's almost like learning to ride a horse, right? When I've been driving cars all this time, and this is a wonderful, wonderful tool. I'm glad I got it. I think it was still overpriced, but so my advice, if someone's gonna buy a camera these days just to play around with, it doesn't have to be uh, one of the newest ones with all the bells and whistles, because I think it almost robs us of the experience if we just jump to the one with the latest features, because then we don't appreciate it as much, in my view. But if you have one of these older cameras, it forces you to think, forces you to solve all kinds of problems. And I love the experience. Excuse me, I use it a whole heap, uh, more than some other cameras, or other more fancy cameras that are more, I should say, feature-rich cameras that I have. Because one, if I drop it, which I've never dropped it, but if I do, I wouldn't feel as hurt. The other thing is, it can take a beating, I imagine. And if I missed a shot, it's not a big deal because I wouldn't have taken to anything important. But I learn a whole heap. And I do capture some good images from this. And they're on the channel anyways. You can just search for it. But it's, actually, I think it's at the end of this video where I took some good pictures with this. And I think it's a good experience. All right, and those are my favorite things, some of my favorite things of 2023.